name. Get used to that right there.
Chris Brown's an amazing and talented musician, but let's call a thing a thing. He's a user of women consistently.
There's a long list of various different women.
You're pretty upset. Are you sure you don't really call victims advocates have them come talk to you?
Who've accused Chris Brown of assaulting them.
Singer Chris Brown has been detained in an alleged case of
Chris Brown got exposed for allegedly being a serial abuser and R-wording multiple women, and let me tell you, this story is messy. In a documentary made by one alleged victim who claims Chris R-worded her on a yacht during a Diddy party, Chris Brown got exposed for using his celebrity status for allegedly get his way with women. However, now CB is furious and is demanding $500 million for what he is calling false accusations against his name. Y'all, this story is intense, so let's get straight into it. Now, over the last decade or so, celebrities haven't become more controversial than Chris Brown. I mean, when it comes to allegations and accusations over acts celebrities have committed against women only, Diddy tops Chris Brown. And ironically, the events that set in motion what we are about to talk about today all began on Diddy's yacht during one of his infamous parties. You see, back in December 2020, while the world was slowly just starting to recover from the effects of COVID, Diddy held a party on his yacht and he invited Chris Brown. In typical Diddy fashion, the yacht was also full of girls. Now, a Jane Doe, who was a professional dancer who had just moved to LA, was invited by one of her friends to said party. Y'all, Jane Doe jumped on the opportunity to possibly network with people in the music industry who were guaranteed to be there given that she was trying to break into the industry herself. Once on the yacht, Jane met Chris Brown. According to Jane, Chris took interest in her music and dance career and offered her her first 2 drinks. After she started drinking, she recalled something immediately feeling off. Next thing she knew, she started feeling heavy and couldn't move. CB then allegedly led her to the back of the yacht where he reportedly proceeded to R-word her. Once he was done, Chris then put his number on her phone in order to connect with her later regarding her career in LA. According to Jane Doe, the two stayed in contact for months after that, until one day through therapy, now she got the courage to file a lawsuit against Chris Brown for what he did to her. Now, not only did she file a lawsuit, but she also made a docuseries called Chris Brown: A History of Violence, exposing all of CB's crimes.
For the young ladies, I mean, what's up, man? You got a girl or what?
Nah, I'm keeping my options open, so y'all be checking for me, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much.
That's the type of stuff will get you into trouble, player.
Now, the docuseries was released last year and it shocked the world. People were aware of CB's past, but to have it all detailed in a show was just astonishing. However, to no one's surprise, one person who wasn't a fan of the show was Chris Brown. And recently, he decided to take action against the makers of that docuseries. In a shocking twist of events, Chris is now suing Warner Brothers and the producers of that docuseries for labeling him as a serial R-worder and abuser.
The right path now for Chris Brown is defending himself in court over abuse allegations. The rapper telling his fans on Instagram to read his $500 million lawsuit over last year's documentary, Chris Brown: A History of Violence.
Y'all, according to court documents obtained by Page 6, CB claims the producers of the show were liable for intentionally inflicting him with emotional distress through the false and defamatory claims they made against him. According to CB, the producers of the docuseries based all their claims on the lawsuit made by Jane Doe, which according to Chris was dismissed because it was full of lies. Now, this is far from the first time CB has been accused of being an abuser. Most infamously, he put his hands on Rihanna, and that incident has haunted him ever since. It was way back in 2009 when Chris was charged with felony assault after a verbal argument with then-girlfriend Rihanna escalated into physical violence, which resulted in Rihanna having to be hospitalized with some serious injuries. Chris pleaded guilty to the charges and avoided jail time with a plea agreement, which included community service, 5 years probation, and domestic violence counseling. However, that fateful incident would derail CB's career forever. Y'all, back then, Chris was on track to being the next Michael Jackson, but that all disappeared. Years later, Chris spoke on the incident on an episode of Chris Brown: Welcome to My Life. He stated that his relationship with Rihanna took a dark turn after Rihanna found out that Chris had been cheating on her with one of his employees. On the night in question, Rihanna had seen the woman at a party they were at, and it led to a heated argument during their drive home. Rihanna later spoke out regarding that fateful night and said that Chris threatened her in order to keep her silent. However, by that point, their relationship had become so toxic, and threats from CB had become a regular thing.
Person, I fell in love with that person. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that that's the type of person that I fell in love with. So far in love. So unconditional that I went back.
On average, I think it takes a woman 7 times before she leaves.
8 or 9. actually. And I don't want that to happen.
Now fast forward to 2011 and Chris had a meltdown backstage during his scheduled appearance on Good Morning America after Robin Roberts repeatedly asked him about his relationship with Rihanna. Chris reportedly lost his temper, leading to the show's hair and makeup team calling security after they heard a commotion from Brown's dressing room. Apparently, Chris smashed the window of his green room, raining shards of thick glass onto the crowded Manhattan street below. Police were summoned, but Brown and his entourage had left the scene by the time they arrived. Quick jump to October of 2013, and Chris Brown was back in serious legal trouble after he and his bodyguard were arrested in D.C. for being in a physical altercation with two men outside of the W Hotel. And remember, at the time, Chris was still on probation for assaulting Rihanna, so the dude went straight to jail. He didn't stay long though, just about 36 hours, but he was taken to court and he pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault. Now by this point, Chris Brown was already gaining a reputation for being a guy who had anger issues. And just a couple of weeks later in November, CB voluntarily entered a rehabilitation program after his DC arrest. But keeping up with his growing reputation, he was kicked out 2 weeks later after he violently lashed out during a family therapy session, smashing the window of his mother's car with a rock. By 2014, Chris Brown's reputation was in the pits, and it got way worse after he got kicked out of another court-ordered rehab program for violating the facility's internal rules. Not long after that, he was back in prison for violating his probation. Come January 2016, Chris Brown was back to his old ways after news broke that police were investigating him after a woman alleged that CB hit her and stole her phone after she tried taking a photo of him during a party at the Palms Casino Resort. Following the incident, Chris Brown posted and then quickly deleted a video denying he was involved and saying the woman accused was mad because she was probably too ugly to get into the party.
Obviously, somebody is looking to get a check or start some shit. I don't know this old looking bitch. This bitch is old, like dusty. Look at her in the Jason Derulo's video. Like, she came to Vegas, she probably came to my room. It was too ugly to get in.
Now at this point, despite releasing a couple of hit songs, CB's reputation was severely damaged. Nobody really wanted to work with him and brands didn't want to be associated with him. So Chris enlisted the help of Mike G to help rehab his image. But in June 2016, that plan backfired after Mike G sued Chris for viciously attacking him. 2 months later, Chris got arrested again, D for assault with a deadly weapon following a 9-hour standoff with police at his home in Tarzana, California. Reportedly, a woman alleged that Chris threatened her with a gun after she admired some of his jewelry. Woman left the home, but Brown and his crew reportedly refused to return her phone unless she signed an NDA. The woman was then able to snatch her phone from one of CB's employees, then she fled to a neighbor's house and hid under a vehicle.
Well, I can tell you the police confirmed he was arrested. They took him to jail where he was booked for assault with a deadly weapon, but that's pretty much all they're telling us. They're not confirming any details of his alleged victim's story. She said that Chris Brown allegedly pointed a gun at her head around 3 a.m. this morning. Again, not confirming that, not talking about any evidence that they may have found or any direction this case may be going. Other than that, he will be charged or has been charged.
And in 2017, a judge granted his then-girlfriend Karrueche a 5-year restraining order against CB. After Karrueche testified that the singer became aggressive after she refused to return a diamond jewelry he had gifted her. According to court documents, Chris has repeatedly harassed Karrueche through text telling her he would physically beat her. He also threatened to unalive her at one point. And in 2018, Chris got sued again, this time for assault by an unidentified woman who claimed Chris and 2 of his friends forcibly held her down when she asked to leave a party. And guys, this is just some stuff I have been able to recall. Chris has been accused of doing far more than this, so it is no surprise that given his recent lawsuit against the producers of his docuseries, people aren't really sympathetic to him. But he is an abuser. I think Rihanna would agree to that. Abusers don't change, especially when their behavior has been so serious, and you know what abusers don't do either? Admit it. If you want to fool yourself, that's your problem. But these behaviors affect to the society. He is an abuser. He's a colorist, which is damaging to young black women who are fans of his but aren't supported by him. BC, they're not the right shade of skin. Rihanna may be over it, but he's still the problem. I always did like Chris, very talented and handsome. It's a shame you start earning money and fame, then you start to take advantage to see how far you can go to get away with things until you get caught. Very sad. Chris Brown is a serial physical abuser, at the least. Public news that he assaulted Rihanna and Karrueche and threatened to unalive both. He had a restraining order in 2017 and even continued to be abusive while on probation. He also was on stage for concerts and put his hand around multiple women's necks. It was previous news including videos and was on video kicking a fan in the head. This was all after he repeatedly punched and bit Rihanna. What other evil he has done is believable. Anyways, what's your opinion on Chris Brown's latest controversy? Do you think he will win his lawsuit? Let me know your opinion in the comments. Till next time, bye.